Let me tell you about the facts of life. Sing it with me.
Take the good, take the bad, you take them both. There you have the facts of life. The facts of life. Take the good, take the bad.
Back to another episode of Facts of Life. I am your host, Zakia, and these are the facts of my life. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast, and leave a review and let me know what you think. This podcast is available to be streamed on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Google Podcasts, and the full visuals of the podcast will be up on YouTube. So today we have a guest, Raven Alexis, and she is a writer, yoga instructor, podcast host, and health and wellness advocate. So welcome, Raven, to Facts of Life.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything? Do you want to add anything?
No.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, good. So on the show, I like to do living my best life. So this part of the show, we're basically just talking about what's going on in the month, the week, year. So whatever you feel comfortable sharing, how are you living your best life?
How am I living my best life? Yeah, kind of like what we said. I'm taking my time this week. Like really, really listening to my body. Nothing. You know what? One thing that has an honorable mention. The other day, I wanted to go get crawfish so bad, and I put it on Instagram. I rarely ever do this. I was like, "Does anybody want to go get crawfish?" I'm like, anybody. I don't care if we've never met. I just want to go. Like I really wanted it. Nobody responded, and the place closed at 10. I wanted to go to BB's in the Heights. Place, their crawfish is so good to me, and the place closed at 10. I'm like sitting around waiting, and nobody says anything. I easily could have like hit people up, but I did that because I knew the people I hit up would not be able to go. So I'm like, so I'm sitting around, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna go get crawfish. So I'm like looking up all these other places that I want to go eat or want to try. And at this point, I'm like, okay, you're desperate.
Right.
So I end up not getting a crawfish. Instead, I come home and I make this amazing vegan taco bowl. I'm talking about, oh, it's so good. I still have like 2 more rounds of that left. And that, I'm so glad that I didn't go get the crawfish, like I'm so glad I didn't spend my money.
Right.
I'm going to get crawfish today, but still, I'm glad that I did not spend my money. And like, I'm glad I haven't really recognized myself as like someone who cooks in the past, but now I'm getting really like intuitive and creative with the food I've been making in my own kitchen. So I'm really proud of myself for making that bowl.
Yeah.
Because I made it and because it is so good. So that is like
that was the highlight of your week.
That was the highlight.
I love that. I love that. Because it's good to eat out sometimes, but it's also good to like make sure that you're using your resources in your house. Sometimes it's like not always just because you don't want to do it, But I'm glad that was the highlight of your week, and that bowl sounds good. I don't even know what was in it, but I feel the love. I feel the goodness.
So good.
The laptop.
I want to make it for anybody and everybody. It was so good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So how I'm living my life, I don't even know. Like the week, like similar to you, I've been, kind of like easing and breathing through the week. And I wrote some petitions like earlier this week, just so that I can manifest some things into my life. And I've been fasting, so that's been really good and interesting. Because I haven't fasted in such a long time, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I ain't perfect. So in the past, when I've tried to fast, I just gave in sometimes, And so because there's things that I would like, and I know like it sounds terrible in hindsight, but there's some things that I'm trying to accomplish. I'm just trying to be obedient to the Most High and let Him know, like, look, I'm out here. I'm trying to do the work. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's how I've been living my best life. This week, this month, I've been doing 30 days of gratitude in my gratitude journal. So that's been really helpful so that I'm not dwelling and complaining, because I can get caught up in that about, things that I don't have. But I'm just like, I'm out here. I live out here in Houston. The weather is iffy, but it's a beautiful city nonetheless. So,
Yeah. Are you from Houston?
no, I'm from Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I've
Mhm.
been running into so many people who are not from Houston, and that's so different to me because, like, and I guess it's just because I am from here, so I'm always surrounded by people that are from here. But this year specifically, I've been just seeing so many more people and connecting with people, and I'm like, "Where are you from?" And they're like, "Oh, LA, New York." I'm like, "What?"
Mhm.
That's so
The transplants are transplanting down here.
yeah.
I went to Options like a couple of weeks ago.
Hmm.
You know what Options is, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking to, I guess, the owner Lando,
Hmm.
and I was like talking to him about networking. And I was like, yeah, I haven't really been networking this past year because I don't know what's going on with this mic. But I haven't really been networking this past year because I don't know, I just haven't been in the mood, and I feel like I'm still holding on to like some past experiences with entrepreneurs and creatives out here in Houston. So I'm just like, I really don't want to be bothered with y'all. But we were just, chopping it up, and then he was like, because he lived in New York, and he was like, yeah, um, Houston is like the New York City of the South. And I'm like, wow, I never heard anybody like put it that way, but we are moving into like a melting pot. A lot of transplants and creatives are moving out here. Because I was asking him like where to go to network, like, and he was like, go this place during the week. And he was like, but don't go there on the weekends because that's when all the people from outside of the city come to party and stuff. And he was like, it's similar to like, New York City, like all the creators and entrepreneurs are out during the week networking and hanging out, and then they stay home on the weekend. I'm like, this makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think Houston may be the New York City of the South.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it was a great analogy. It
Yeah.
was a great analogy. So yeah, I've been here for it'll be 5 years in August. So yeah, it's a great city. I love Houston. I had to make some adjustments when I first moved here, but outside of that, it's been good.
Good.
It's
Wow.
been good.
I always admire people who move. Like, just because I haven't, the furthest I've moved is like an hour away when I went to college. Other than
Mhm.
that, I have not lived anywhere else. So
Yeah.
that is just amazing.
Most Houstonians don't leave, and I see why. Like, I definitely get why y'all don't leave because it's like, why would you? Like it's the perfect mixture, like between the South and like a city. So it's like you get the best of both worlds out here.
Yeah. But some people, I know that some people who do leave for that reason as well. Like most of them are creatives, and most of them feel like Houston is not really supportive of its
Mhm.
people, and so like there's so much opportunity here, but a lot of people just want to keep it to themselves. And
Yeah.
I I can't say that I have experienced that per se, but I just
Mhm.
feel like that's just because of who I am as a person. Like I have like I know what it is I want to do, and And God just continues to bless me with people who are genuine. And He's blessed me with like some serious intuition about people. I don't know. So I try to steer clear of people that I don't get good vibes from. But I also have seen where, and am seeing where a lot of creatives will just really try to hoard all the resources, and people go other places and they really, there's a couple people that I went to high school with. One of them, she was a year older than me, but now she has like a clothing line. She lives in LA. She has a
Mhm.
clothing line, and a whole bunch of like artists and models have been wearing her clothes, and like she's super, super popping. I can't say that she had the same issue here, but I just know it's so many people who have moved from Houston and who are thriving. So I
Yeah,
get it. It's like it's your personal experience when you're here.
right. No, I definitely do agree. I feel like it's a mixture of like, you know, I from the outside looking in, I see people in Houston being supportive. Um,
Yeah.
but I know it's different when you grow up in the city. You know, you grow up with people, and some people don't like to see you win. You know, so I can definitely see why people feel like, oh yeah, I gotta get out of here because this ain't working out for me. So I see it from both sides. Oh yeah, I didn't even. I wanted to talk about briefly how we met. So we've been following each other online on social media for some time now, and I had the opportunity to attend your. I don't even know what the proper term is. A journaling event,
A journaling workshop.
a journaling workshop. I apologize. So yeah, I had the opportunity to attend, and like that was just so great. That it just set off my march. Like I talked about it briefly on the podcast, but it definitely like helped set off the rest of my month last month. So
I love
yeah,
that. I'm so glad you got to come. Seriously. It
yeah,
was such a pleasure having that because it was the first in person one that I've had since 2019. And I really like person to person connection.
yeah,
So it was so nice to be in the room with
yeah.
that energy, seriously.
Yeah, it was great. That was my first Reiki session.
Mm.
So it was just great overall. What got you into journaling workshops?
Um, well, so positive self talk started as just like a concept. I was
Mhm.
talking to a friend. This was like in 2016, 2015, 2016, or maybe it was earlier than that, like 2014, 2015. Anyway, I was talking to a friend and she was talking to me about her business that she was starting. And she was talking about like all the stuff that she needed to do for it to be like successful,
Mhm.
like talking about all the stuff that she didn't have. Meanwhile, she had like a DBA, she had the t-shirts ready, she had a whole stack of t-shirts ready. Like her setup for pop-ups and markets and stuff was like really creative and really nice. And I'm thinking like, why do we harp on what we don't have? Like I get it, but like I'm listening to her talk. I'm like, girl, I don't even know what a DBA is. Like, I don't even know what a DBA is. I'm like, you are so many steps ahead of so many other people, but yet we're still like, but I don't have this, and I need this, and basically on some like, I need to get my shit together. And it's like we are always getting our shit together, and it's like. But it doesn't have to be, we don't have to be so harsh when we're doing that. And it's like we are the first people that we hear from, and it has to be a safe space to be, especially when you can't control what other people will say or do when you go out into the world. Like you have to make sure that your mind and your body is a safe and good place for you to be in. So I started a blog, and when I was in college, I just would like write out different blog posts about like positive things and tips on how to stay positive, and just my little blurbs about my experiences. And then I started going to this church called the Awakenings Movement. I still go there. And I don't know, it's just a church. My mama used to call it a cult because it's a church. It's a church full of creative people. Like, I've never seen that many people who have, like, fully pursued their dreams. That's where I met Ella from Crumville.
Oh,
That's where I
okay.
met her. Like, she, and you'll probably hear her story at another time, but, like, briefly, she left her good job and was selling cookies full time because it was just a passion of hers. And now she's just, I've never seen anything like that. Like, I've never, so many people in that community. And so they saw something in me and were just asking me questions about what I do. And I'm like, okay, how can I make my blogging more tangible? Like, how can I do that? And I've been journaling for quite some time. I am a firm believer in journaling, getting it out of your head and putting it onto paper. And I'm also a firm believer in, like, self-help and self-healing. And it doesn't have to be as complex as it seems, especially in this society now where it's kind of trendy and it's, like, made out to be exclusive, healing is. And it's like, it's so accessible via journaling. So I'm like, I should just have a journaling workshop. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I'm gonna find a place to have it, and I'm gonna buy all the journals myself from, like, the dollar store, and I'm gonna charge $7. I was like, yeah, $7. That's a good amount. I was like, yeah, $7, and we're gonna have it at this yoga studio. And I did that. I had the first one in 2016, and I had so many people come. It was like more than 30 people there,
Wow.
and it was beautiful. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep having these. And I said I was gonna have them every other month, um, but that didn't happen. I just started having them sporadically, but in that sense, they have been consistent. Not in the sense that I've had them, like, at a consistent, like, set time, but I have had more than three or four. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just love it. And I started to love it. And as I grew, my concepts around it grew. And still being a part of the awakening, sometimes they would let me, like, use the space to have them. And they would always, like, let everybody know that I was having them. And they would always patronize me, like, not always just talking about it, but they would show up too. So yeah, it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I love that. I really do love that. I know, um, you mentioned community and healing a lot in your practice. So I have a quick icebreaker.
Okay.
Healing, and you could fill in the blank. Healing our community is important because
Healing our community is important because we need each other. And not in the sense that we need to be codependent, but we need each other. Like, there may be a time where I don't know, this is small, but I may need, like, a ride somewhere, you know? And there's somebody in my community that I can reach out to. Or I may need someone to listen, you know? There's somebody that I can reach out to listen. And it's like, in healing ourselves, we are healing the community because we are able to show up better for each other. So when I need that listening ear, if you are doing your work, you can listen to me. And if I'm doing my work, I can ask you for what I need. That's really the main thing. When I'm committed to my healing journey, I know what I need and I know how to ask for it. Like, I know what kind of support I need, and that is showing up for myself, and
right.
that is allowing community to show up for me. and then it's just this whole circle, this cycle, where we are showing up for ourselves and pouring, like filling up our own cup. Therefore, we can like pour into others without being depleted,
Right.
without being drained, because it's just this community aspect of us all doing our work so that we can be there for each other when it's time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I see a lot of people moving into like the community healing, and I think it's important, and I'm grateful that, you're one of the people that advocate for that as well, because I think just the way the world is going on in our history, melanated people, it's like we really do need each other. And we spend a lot of time, bickering and going back and forth about nonsense 90% of the time. So I feel like we could be stronger, like you said, if we, one, show up for ourselves, because a lot of us are not doing the healing so that we can be a resource and an advocate or whatever to other people. So I'm glad that, you are one of the people that advocate for community, because we really do need it. We really need to. Listening is a big thing. Listening to each other, actively listening. That has been something that has been coming up in my community lately, uh, with my with my friends, because I'm just like, I love y'all, but sometimes I just need y'all to listen, like. And I think it's because like a lot of us, we want to help, and I've been doing better at like verbalizing, like, okay, like this is what I need, and I
Hmm.
don't need anything more or anything less than
Hmm.
what I'm asking for. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I'm like, yeah, I feel like when you're in a better place, you know, you can give more.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can give more, and you can listen. I'm not saying that listening is challenging. I've seen this meme going around about what does it say? Like, normalize not bringing up a relatable story about yourself when somebody's talking to you, something to that nature.
That I know exactly what you're talking about, and that really checked me because I had, oh my gosh, I. That's another thing about healing and listening. It's that you're able to like hold yourself accountable, because when I read that, I was like, yeah, I have to stop doing that. I
Yeah,
have to stop feeling like that's the way that I can help people by saying, oh, well, yeah, I did that, or this happened to me. And it's like, that very well may be true, but that's not, that may, I mean, it could help, but that just goes back to like asking. Like now, before I drop something on my friends, I'd be like, do you have the mental space for me to do this?
yes.
Because sometimes, like sometimes they don't.
Right. No, that's real. Cause that meme touched me too. Cause like I'm very talkative, so like when people are telling me things, it's so easy. Like I don't know if it's like a defense mechanism or what. Like I'm not sure what to call it. Because it's not always helpful. Like that's the reality. It's like it's not always helpful to others, but I've gotten so much better at just like listening. And if people need certain things from me, I'm willing to show up and give them whatever it is that they need. And I'm just like, because I've gotten better at listening. I think I just expect people to do the same. I'm just like, I'm trying to lead by example, damn it. You know what I mean?
But you gotta meet people where they are.
Yeah,
You
no,
definitely
you
have to meet people
do.
where they are. But I get that frustration.
Yeah, like, look, I'm trying here. Meet me halfway, okay?
I had to check myself today because my boyfriend, he had said something to me this morning, and he was like, yeah, I'm not having really a good day. thinking about some old stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's okay to grieve, but just remember where you are now. And then I put my phone down, I'm like going on, and then I was like, I don't even know what he's thinking about. I shouldn't have said that, because that maybe did not speak to what he's experiencing. So I had to double back and apologize. I was like, I'm sorry, for offering that piece of advice, because that probably did not speak to what you're experiencing like that. And I had just went on a Twitter rant about that. I deleted it because I always do that. I be stuff like this because I don't really talk like that. So,
Yeah.
but I was just like, we really be giving advice sometimes from the surface,
Mm-hmm.
just because of like all these little memes that we see and all the things that we experience. While some of it is very helpful and very accurate, sometimes it is sometimes surface level to people's personal experiences. And
Right.
me saying just remember where you are now is a great piece of advice when
Mm-hmm.
you are speaking to that.
Right.
But I didn't know and I still don't know. When he's ready to tell me, he will. But like in my space of not knowing right now, I should have just been like, let me know if you need to talk.
Yeah.
So, but I'm really grateful for that accountability, because
Yeah.
I was able to really quickly be like, hey, sorry for offering that. You
Turn
know, but
around.
everybody don't have that awareness, and
Right.
sometimes I'm somebody that I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I am learning how to stop taking things personal, because I will take everything personal, okay?
Yes.
Every single thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is not there. We all have our places where we're still working on things. So, you
Yeah.
know, people just people just be peopling.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you're self-aware, and you're taking accountability because some people don't. Some people do
Yeah.
not. And I be pissed off because I'm like, bro, I'm over here trying to be a better person, okay? And you keep trying me, or at least I feel like they are. And that goes back to your taking things personally thing, because
Yeah.
like some people don't do it on purpose. They're just not aware of what they're doing. And I'm an advocate for getting professional help. Like, please get the help that you need, because
Ooh.
I am okay.
Oh
I'm
my
getting the help that I need. Okay, so please get the help that you need,
God.
right? So that we can coexist and harmonize together.
Right. That's hilarious.
Yeah, for sure. So, if people are looking for community and they're looking for a safe place for their healing journey, how can people find that? What suggestions do you have for people that need that type of support?
Um, I would first suggest that they just really get clear on what it is they need from the community. Like, again, I'm a big advocate of community healing, and I'm a big advocate of self-healing. So
Right.
knowing where you are in your life and in your journey, and being very, very honest and authentic about that and genuine about that is really the first step, because then you know what you need and you know what to ask for from the community. And then I would suggest just, I don't know, just telling people, being vocal, you
Yeah.
know, being vocal, trying different things, and really going out into community, um, using your intuition. I was listening to another podcast the other day, and she was talking about building your intuitive muscle and saying how you won't strengthen it if you don't use it.
Mhm.
So getting clear on what you need, and then like exploring the community around you.
Yeah.
It's trial and error. So I'm not saying to just expose your energy to just any person or any community, but like come into the journaling workshop just off the strength of maybe where you are in your journey, and you journaling. It's like, okay, this seems like something that I should do you know
Right.
so I mean, I don't know. I'm a really transparent person, and some of my friends don't understand that. Like, I've gotten into a lot of trouble around that, because
Yeah,
like some
you ain't
people
the
are
only
some
one.
people are so private, and some people just really don't click with everyone, and that's not me. Like, I love people and I love connecting, and I have friends from all different walks of life, like as soon as I feel comfortable around you, I will share, So that's also something I'm working on, like oversharing, because I will literally tell you everything and feel bad after I do, be like, dang, why did I tell her that? But for me, that's what has worked. I mean, I've always grown up with like a solid group of friends, but as far as like finding the community that I need, like Awakenings, for example, the person who led me to Awakenings, I'm not even friends with them anymore.
Yeah,
But, and I was gonna like stop going when that friendship ended, but I kept going,
yeah,
and I kept using my discernment, but also remaining open. Like, okay, this looks like a space where I can insert myself here, or this seems like a person that I can like say what I need. I
right,
think just being like trusting yourself and trusting, God or whatever you call the higher power that you believe in. If you do, really spending quality time with that so that you can hear yourself, like spending quality time in silence and really just letting, like meditation or prayer, like
yes,
listening for what it is that you need, and then letting your heart guide you into those spaces. And community doesn't have to be like 10, 20 people. It could be
mm,
just one person that you meet and you're like, okay. That's how a lot of my community, my personal community, has grown outside of the people that I already know. I'm like, there's something about you, let's do this. And that's how people connect with me. They're like, there's something about you, or how can I. So it's really not as hard as like the world makes it seem. It's
yeah,
really about getting clear on what it is that you personally need, and then trusting yourself to attract that community to you, and trusting God to get you in the spaces that you need to be. Because like, it's really not as challenging as we make it seem. Creating the community is not.
right. Yeah, no, for sure. I I was because I moved here. I didn't really have. Well, I have like family here, but they're like distant cousins. So like all of my immediate family is back home in Connecticut, and like I met this guy out here, and we were dating. Well, it was a situation, whatever you want to call it. But he led me to. I was going to this temple out here, and prior to going to the temple, I was definitely one of those people that didn't have community. And like, I come from a Christian background. Like, I grew up in church. I stopped going to church, what, like 4 or 5 years ago. I decided that, it was no longer for me. But, you know, it was challenging for me to like find community prior going to the temple. And I think it was because like I was holding on to, my past experiences in church. And because I didn't have the greatest experience growing up in church
Mhm.
in Connecticut, the church that I was pretty much born and raised in, it wasn't a great experience. So I was kind of like tainted from that.
Yeah.
And just to like camel back about what you were saying about like, knowing what you need and spending time with God or whatever. And I'm just like, yes, like that's important for you to like also let go of, your past experiences and your trauma, because it was hard for me. Sometimes I still struggle with it. I've gotten better, but like it was really hard for me to like trust people to be who they said that they were going to be. Like, because in the church, you think like this is a safe place. I could come here and I could commune with other like-minded people. And it was just like so many evil people in my church. Like, and that is not to be shady, but that was just my experience. Like, I grew up with some evil ass people in church. So it tainted my view about people coming together and like working together and being kind to each other, you know? And so anybody that is looking for community, like, you know, Raven said, like you really have to like spend time with yourself. It's hard, you know, and I think a lot of us like rush to the finish line with healing and it's like it's a non-stop, it's a continuous process
Yeah.
to heal and to like get, you know, ascend to your highest self.
Yeah.
So
And I just did my latest podcast episode was about living and healing and how I find myself always saying like I'm like, oh, I'm healing from this and I'm healing from that and blah 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 blah. And it's like, look, just me being here in this body is healing.
right,
So sometimes it could take a while, to
right,
unpack some of those traumas. Some traumas we don't even know we have. Um, some things we don't even know we're holding on to.
hmm,
And, you know, it's like you just live and you stay open and you really make time to be with yourself for real. Like, because that's a lot of people's story. Not a lot of, well, I don't know. From the people that I've spoken with who are not in the church anymore, that is similar to their experience, because they're not practicing what they're preaching
right,
literally. And so that does, I didn't grow up in the church, so I don't have that experience per se, but the church I go to now is not necessarily like the most conventional church anyway, so I've never had
right,
like a traditional church experience. But I've been to like Catholic churches and Baptist churches, and I see some of the views of people who attend those type of churches, and it's like I cannot heal there. Like I can't do my work in there. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I can't. But yeah, it's like the beginning of you finding the community is you being able to like know that just you by yourself is sufficient enough for
right.
community first.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good point because if you don't start here, you know, you're never gonna receive what you're looking for outside of you,
Hmm.
like for sure.
Yeah.
Um, So I was scrolling through my phone and I came across this screenshot. It was so old, but it was like a journaling infographic, and it says journaling and writing for reflection carries many benefits for our physical, mental, and emotional health. What are the benefits of journaling for you, and how do you feel like it can benefit other people?
Journaling is just, oh my gosh, I love it so much. Like, it's and I say this at every workshop that I have, or anytime anybody asks me this question, it's like, as someone who is on their healing journey, and I've tried everything because I experience anxiety sometimes. I'm telling you everything: acupuncture, Reiki, yoga, journaling, tea, sage, crystals, all of it. Okay,
Mhm.
all of it. And I still do those things because it's a practice. And but it's like on that journey, you like look to podcasts and self-help books and all that stuff, and all that stuff is fine. It is fine. But when you journal, it's like when you journal and you reflect on your life, I believe the lessons come in cycles. So like you just open up your journal, you could flip to November 3rd, 2011,
Mhm.
and see that like maybe you're in a similar experience right now. And you can go back to that journal entry and you could look at it and say, oh, this is how I handled it. And you could, if you reflected on it, you can say like, okay, this is how what I did, this worked. Or maybe this didn't work and let me try something new. But it's like your own self-help book, your own life guide
Yeah.
you know? And it's like we are always in our rational, logical thinking mind, brain. We're
Right.
always up here. For me, I'm always, always, always in my head, not
Mm-hmm.
really in my body. You
Yeah.
know, it's so refreshing to just get it all out on paper, to just look at it, you know, so that you're not trying to figure it all out up here because that's like stress inducing,
Right.
anxiety inducing, trying to control everything, trying to know the answers to everything, trying to know the outcome, trying to be 10 steps ahead or whatever. Like, no,
Yes.
no. Journaling is like, and it's therapeutic to me. Like, to choose to intentionally sit down and reflect on your day, it's grounding.
Yes.
It keeps you present. Um, Especially if you have a prompt. If you have a prompt and you can move from the prompt, it's like, okay, like if the prompt is asking you what are three things you're grateful for, that is immediately grounding and it immediately brings you back to center. Because no
Yes.
matter what kind of day you're having, when you take the time to focus on three things you're grateful for, it like makes everything else so minuscule, you know? Like
Yeah.
I just feel like it's such a good practice to have for you to be able to trust yourself, and especially in terms of positive self-talk, for you to be able to know how much power there really is in your words. Like I remember something Erica Badu said. She was like, write it down, make it real, or something like that. That's very true. When
Yeah.
you're writing it down with intention, you know, and you're reflecting about what you've experienced or what you've had in your life, you have this thing that you wrote, you
Yeah.
know, and it just reinforces the fact that you can depend on yourself and you can trust yourself.
I
that
love
that's what it is for me, because I've
it.
had a really challenging time being able to trust myself and being able to know if it's really my intuition talking or if it's anxiety or whatever. And I can just go back in the journal and be like, well, I can trust myself. i
Yeah.
can i can at least trust myself to write down what I'm feeling, you know,
Right.
to feel at all, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, we store things in our bodies. We store all different types of energy and traumas in our bodies. And journaling is just one way to move that energy out, to get
Right.
out of our minds and to get really back present.
Right. So, what was your, I guess, first experience with journaling?
You know, it wasn't until I actually started hosting journaling workshops that I realized how long I've actually been journaling and have how long I've been using journaling as a tool. Because I remember when I was in high school, we used to have this one tablet, and I would write in it, and then I'll pass to the person that I saw in lunch, and then she'll write in it, and then she'll give it back to another person. Like we had this journal that we would just pass around just to talk
Mm,
about how our school days were going. And then I
yeah.
have a million diaries, just talking
Right.
about what I did that day and all that stuff. So I've been journaling. But
Yeah.
my very first, where I was aware that this is a tool that I'm going to use to heal myself, I think it was when I started. It, women's stories always start when they're dating somebody.
Don't I know it?
Because it was definitely when I was dating this person and I was journaling about our experiences, and I was so sad. Ooh, I was so sad. And I was just writing about everything, just being super transparent. Like sometimes I go back and read them and I literally cringe, but like that's just how it has to be. Like
Right.
because I'm like, sometimes I caught myself when I'm writing in my journal. I'm like, I'm writing this as if I'm gonna present it to somebody. So I'm
Right.
not being all the way honest. So
Yeah.
it's like, no, I need to write down everything. If
Right.
I'm feeling like shit today, if I like want him back, if I'm like
Mhm.
begging, pleading, crying, if I ain't got up to eat today, I need to write it down. Like it's a
Right.
mess, but this is where I am right now. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I think I love journaling too, and that's one of the reasons why like I came to your event. And similar to you, like middle school is probably like my earliest memory of having a diary. And I think my mom still has all of them. I hope she hasn't read them, but I'm gonna have to have her send those back to me. Because like I keep all of my journals and my diaries because it's a great opportunity to reflect on your life, like you said, and see what you did and how you can do things differently. I made it my business that whenever I have children, like I'm probably going to give them my journals and my diaries. So it's like because there's so many lessons that I've learned, and sometimes well, I shouldn't say sometimes. I bring my journal pretty much everywhere with me. So it's like if I remember I went to a first time home ownership class because eventually like I would like to buy a house. So I just went just to see like what you need to do. But and I always write down notes. So like I wrote down notes from the workshop in my journal, and it's like this is something that I want to give to my children. So it's like whether it's financial advice that I've gotten or I went to workshops, like I just make sure to write it down in the journal because like I want this to be not like a blueprint, but like, look, this is what your mother did. This is what she was going through. I hope you don't make these same mistakes, but we human, whatever.
So
So
they have a reference,
yeah, they have a reference. Like I really want that to be, the thing that, and I don't know when I'm gonna give it to them. Probably
Yeah.
when they like graduate high school or something. But um, yeah, I think that's really important. So for somebody that's like new to journaling, say for example, they've never journaled, not even as a child.
Hmm.
Like what suggestions do you have for somebody that's new to journaling? Because some people like, well, I don't journal because like I don't know what to say or I don't know what to write or whatever. So like, what suggestions do you have for somebody that is new to journaling?
I would just say to just write about how your day went. Like it doesn't, and this is the thing that I had to like get out of my mind, that it has to always be something about something, like
Mm-hmm.
it journaling is exactly that. It's reflecting about anything. So if you want to get into journaling, like just start with what you're feeling or what kind of day you had. Like a lot of my journal entries to this day start out by saying I went to yoga today, or for breakfast, I had this, or I talked to my mom today about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's simple. It's not easy because I took this journaling course with Alex L, and it was like healing your inner childhood traumas.
Was it last year, like during the pandemic?
It was this year.
It was this year.
It
Okay.
was early this year,
Okay.
like February. January,
Okay.
January to February. And there were some prompts where I started writing and answered. I was like, okay, I can't do this,
It's
because
too
it brings
much.
up
Yeah.
so much. But it's not always like that. And I think people who kind of feel intimidated by journaling feel like you got to always, like, just this capitalist society that we're in, we feel like we always got to be producing something to be consumed. And that's not what it
Mhm.
is. It's literally
Right.
you reflecting on whatever your experience is that day or that week or however often you do it. So I would just say write down what you're feeling, or write down how your day went or what kind of day you had. What did you eat today? How was
Mhm.
your shower? What do you want to do? What do you like? Did you have any daydreams? Just anything that you, because it's really about you getting to know yourself.
Right.
And getting to know yourself doesn't always have to be traumatic,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. It doesn't.
It does.
There's parts that maybe, but
Mhm.
yeah, it doesn't. A lot of people don't want to face themselves, and like I get stuck. with journaling too. And that's why, like, I was like, yeah, March is gonna be the month where I do prompted journaling because, like, sometimes I'll write and it's like it don't be making no sense to me, and I'm just like, I really don't have much to say today, or it may be literally one line, like today I did X, Y, like you said, or I went this place, but yeah, I definitely agree with just starting anywhere with your day. Just
Yeah.
starting anywhere. And
Releasing expectations of what it's supposed to look like. Like you said,
mhm,
it's one line today, and that's
yeah,
fine. Like
right.
just like releasing what we think it's supposed to look like and just letting it be what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I wrote a journal entry last night, and at the end of it, I was like, I feel like this was one big ramble, and that's
Mhm.
fine. And I
Yeah.
just closed it, and I was done. I don't know what the hell I was talking about in that journal entry, but my hand just kept going. There was something that I
Yeah.
needed to get out. So,
Right. I love that. I love that. All right, this is my last question for you today. What tools do you feel like have been the most helpful during your healing journey?
what tools do I feel like have been the most helpful? Journaling for sure.
Okay.
Um, Yoga. Cannot say enough about yoga for real. Like
Love yoga.
it's it's and really it's what prompted, like, well, not prompted, I shouldn't use that word, but I don't know, I embarked on a yoga journey in 2017, but I decided I wanted to get my yoga teacher certification last year, and
Hmm.
I am forever changed by that experience. Seriously, my body, mentally, physically, all that. So, yoga for sure. It helps you stay present. That's what really helps you get into your body. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what kind of yoga you do or you've done, but I usually do like a powerful flow, and
Hmm.
and it's heated. So I'm moving through this yoga practice, and I'm like, things hurt, things are uncomfortable, I'm sweating, but all it is like connecting back to your breath. And
Yeah.
it's like that is a tool that you can use on and off your mat. When
Hmm.
things are chaotic, you just come back to your breath. So
Breathe.
yoga for sure. Yoga, journaling, and just writing just to write. And you know what? Acupuncture.
Okay. I've
Like
never done acupuncture.
acupuncture. The other day I was so on edge, Zakia. I was so
Hmm.
on edge. I called them people that moment. I was like, "Do y'all have an appointment today?" And they did. And it's like as soon as they put the first like needle in, I was fast asleep.
Yeah.
That's a new thing though, and that's not as accessible to
Hmm.
everyone. So the main thing that you can just start with right now, yoga and journaling for sure. Top, top, and water.
Yes.
Line it.
Drinking water is very important.
Yeah. I was,
Cause it,
we really don't be thinking about how much our diet affects our mental.
okay, it really
Like
does.
my mind is blown to know what type of foods and stuff really like affect you in a negative way. You be thinking that you're crazy. Meanwhile, you just need to stop eating pasta.
Right. Love
Like
pasta.
I do too. That's look, work in progress because I love
Yeah.
pasta and I love bread and I love potatoes. I
Hmm.
love all of that. But just yeah. If I had to choose something for somebody to start with right now today, journaling and yoga, and if journaling is not the thing, meditation is another thing. Um,
Okay.
and people have a hard time with that too because they're like, I don't think I'm doing it right, and my mind won't be quiet. And it's not about quieting your mind. It's
Right.
about letting your mind be what it is, and then with that practice, understanding the thoughts that come up.
Right.
Yoga, journaling, meditation for sure. And talking to your people.
Mm.
Talking to your people. That's it. That's probably the top one for me because I you have to let people know how to be there for you. And I'm the type of person where, and I'm still working through this. I've always felt like the friend that always needed to be helped. I needed to be picked up. I
Mm.
needed some money.
Yeah.
I'm in a relationship that's traumatic, and I need you to, just, I always felt like I was a friend that people had pity on. And so I
Mm.
didn't ask for help because I wanted to show myself that I don't need anybody. This is a revelation that I
Mm.
just came to this year.
Yeah.
I realized that about myself, and it's like, no, like ask people for what you need. Let people show up for you.
Yeah.
That is showing up for yourself. So
Right.
that's the biggest thing. Talking to people and letting them know what you need and letting them help you, for sure. If you want to heal, if you want to make that first step, let people know how to help you.
Yes, that's really important because a lot of people suffer in silence. So many people suffer in silence. And, because they don't feel comfortable asking for help or they may not have anybody in their corner, whatever the case is, like, that is, that is very important to, ask for help so you don't have to suffer in silence because your thoughts can really run you ragged.
Whew.
They can really run you ragged, like, and especially like with men, there's the suicide rate for them is super high. So it's like, we have to make sure, like you said it before, we don't keep saying it, but like ask for help, speak up for yourself, advocate for yourself. And if you don't know how to act, like I would suggest professional help. Like that's the only that's the last thing. Like you get all your suggestions were on nail on the head, but like and if you can't do these things, like and if you
Yeah,
have the need to do it, definitely seek professional help, like for sure.
yeah.
Because
I advocate for that too. Have
you said what?
I definitely advocate for therapy. I had a therapist in college when I was going through a bad, bad, bad breakup. I didn't know what else to do, and she was the best. I would just go in there for the whole 50 minutes and just cry, and she'd be like, "Okay, see you next time." I told her I wish I could put her in my pocket for real,
Yeah,
because sometimes you do need that. You need it.
yeah,
You need it. And it's okay because some people will feel ashamed around that.
yeah.
I mean, when I told my mom that I had a therapist in college, she was kind of like, "Well, I didn't even know that you were." And it's like,
The
that's
stigma.
the stigma
Mhm.
around it. That you
Yeah,
like things are so bad that you have to go
right.
to a therapist, and it's like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Especially in our community, we be feeling like, well, I don't want them to know my business or whatever, and just who deep. It's so deep.
yeah. I agree. Like I've kind of been going to therapy on and off since I was a child, but recently when I moved to Houston, this is when I like started taking it serious. And my therapist, well, I had a new one now because my therapist went on to bigger and better things. But the therapist that I had, the previous therapist, like she was like,
Mm.
that's my girl right there because she helped me like not to curse a lot of people out, y'all. Just to be 100% transparent, she helped me to like not curse a lot of people out, and she held me accountable. Like that is what we need. And like I brought up the whole, men suffering in silence because with DMX was recently passed, and I know when he was on life support there was a clip going around where he was talking about the first time he got introduced to drugs by his mentor. And like he carried that like pretty much his whole entire life until he took his last breath. And then it made me start thinking, like, as I'm, getting older and I'm going out and I'm hanging out with people that are 30 and up, I'm noticing that a lot of men are borderline alcoholics. Like, and the women, we drink too, but I don't feel like it's as excessive or I see it as much with women. Like the men, they're at the bars every single day, and or they're on the verge of being addicts, and it's like, please get the help you need. Speak up for yourself. I listen to a range of podcasts, and I do like listening to podcasts where there's male hosts, because like I just like to get their perspective on life, and like they'll talk about mental health, but they don't get help. Like
Yeah.
it don't be making no sense to me, because like they'll be like, yeah, we need to do better, we need to talk to each other, whatever, and it's just like none of y'all gonna get the help.
Right.
Like you clearly are saying that you have issues and you need help, but it's like, what is stopping y'all from getting the help? And I know like that's we could go on a tangent about that,
Yeah.
but
We just can't, because that's been a thing of mine, to get more men at my workshop.
yes.
So I've been like, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to change the color on my flyer? Like, so it don't look so girly. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Because I really want them. I want women to like bring their partners or their brothers or whatever. Because it's like, or men to bring their partners and themselves, like,
Right.
because I recognize that, and it's like there's not really a lot of space held for them, especially Black
Mhm.
men, to
Yeah.
really be vulnerable. And I think your mind is a crazy place, and we're being shown that even more this year and last year.
Mhm.
Your mind is so, like, it's so powerful, and we have to make it a happy and safe, well, not always happy, because happy is fleeting, but a peaceful place to be,
A
you know
joyous place.
a joyous place to be. And we
Yeah.
be harbor they harbor so much. I
Hmm.
harbor so much, so I know that they harbor so much, and nobody is
Right.
holding for them to let it out. And so it comes out in other ways, like alcoholism, escapism, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I definitely want them to get the help. Like I am advocating for that. I think maybe you should like do like just a males only journaling
Mm.
workshop. Cause I've seen like one of the girls I follow from back home. She's a yoga instructor, and I know she did like a males only class one time, and she got a good turnout. Because I think like men, they may be embarrassed if they see other women. I don't know what it is. I'm not in your head, but maybe that could help you get some more men to come out
That's
and
that's a really good idea. Thank you for offering that.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So before we leave, do you want to leave us with the journaling prompt for the audience? Do you have one off the top of your head? Can you think of one?
Can I think of one? Yes, I can
Okay.
think of one. I have my book where I write all of them down.
Okay.
This
Good.
one is good. This is one that I moved through earlier this week with a group of people, and it's so crazy because it was like a morning meeting, and I was not food prepared, and I was like doing it on a whim. And then when I came up with it and moved through it, I was like, damn, like this was not me, like it was me, but I was the vessel because I needed that prompt.
Right.
Okay. The prompt that I have is to consider some of your goals, make a list of your goals, consider some of your best qualities, and make a list of those qualities. In what ways can you trust yourself to show up for those goals this month?
I love
So
that.
in a way that we're not trying to achieve our goals out of like rushing or out of obligation, just simply because I know that I can do this, and I know that this is what I want to achieve. So how can I trust myself to do that? And an example of response to that prompt is, so I know that I want to be more organized. And so the simplest way that I can be more organized is to write stuff down. I
Mm,
know that I'm a writer. I know that I like to see stuff on paper, and I can trust myself to show up in that way. And so I
mhm.
can trust myself to write things down.
Right.
It's that simple, you know? It can be as deep as you want it to be, and it's like you can start right where you are with that prompt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, for sure.
Where can people find you online? And I also will link all that in the description, but just tell us right now.
Okay. You can find me on Instagram at Raven Alexis. That's RavenAlexis. And you can find my podcast, Ginger Tea the Podcast, also on Instagram. Where else can you find me? I don't really be on Twitter like that, but I pop in every now and again. So if you are
Yeah.
on Twitter, it's the Raven Alexis. So just like Instagram, but with THE in front of it. And
Okay.
um, yeah, that's where you can find me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. I really appreciate this. I'm sure my audience and the guests, you are the guest, audience will appreciate it.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for thinking of me. I really, really appreciate it. I really needed this talk this morning.
yeah,
Like,
of course.
really like candid, no pressure conversation.
Yeah.
I needed that.
I knew that I needed to have you on here because I'm just like that workshop just grew me so much. Like, and I think it's and I was talking to some of my friends last month, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this every day, journaling, prompting thing or whatever. And so I think it'll be because it was helpful to me. Like I want to definitely help other people. I want this podcast to be a resource for healing, breaking generational curses.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to have people like you around that's doing the work for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And I appreciate your podcast. Thank you for creating space for
Mhm.
people to talk candidly and for people to come to just learn more. Like, I really admire you taking your experience, creating community down here, and just like offering that up to other people. Because I know that it's challenging when you're in a new space or when you're just in a new space physically and mentally. It's hard to like put yourself out there, so it's very
Right.
admirable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So make sure that you guys are subscribing to the podcast, downloading, sharing, reviewing, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.